flash event ends 15th of April. Conditions apply.
Digital security? Nah, I'm not talking about the code to your safe. I'm talking online. Virus protection. No funny business with your passwords. Got me? That's where you need Bitdefender. Complete security for your digital life. Trusted by the experts. Used by the pros.
Bitdefender, a global leader in cybersecurity. Trusted, always.
Stop mucking about. Head to bitdefender.co.uk now.
Introducing a new instant access savings account from Wealthify. Get your money working harder with our competitive variable interest rate of 4.91% AER, 4.8% gross. Built to be flexible, you can save on your terms from as little as £1 with no penalties to withdraw. Go on, activate your savings at wealthify.com. The Wealthify Instant Access Savings Account is powered by Clearbank Limited, who are authorised by the Prudential Regulation Authority and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority and the Prudential Regulation Authority. Interest paid monthly, T's and C's apply.
My granny visits Specsavers. No chance.
No, my daughter doesn't go to Specsavers.
You're having a laugh. My sister goes to Specsavers.
Specsavers? For my mum, it's out of the question. Dad? Oh, he hasn't been to Specsavers in years.
If your loved ones can't make it into a Specsavers store, it's easy to arrange home visits. Our opticians are caring and highly trained. To find out if your loved ones are eligible, visit our website.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of our EDF customer service agents busy listening and supporting our customers. We're proud that over the last 5 years, Citizens Advice ranked us #1 for customer service more often than any other energy company in Britain. For verification and to find out more, visit edfenergy.com/helpingbritain.
James O'Brien on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
20 minutes after 10 is the time, and one more comment, which I have alluded to and nudged you towards a lot since probably the middle towards the end of last October, and it is this, and I say it with great regret, that you need critical friends. You need critical friends in the room, and by shutting critical friends out of the room, by calling them anti-Semitic or Hamas supporters, by maligning and insulting them and denigrating them, by shutting them or trying and failing to shut them down, you help contribute to the environment in which what is happening and what has happened can happen. You need critical friends in the room. If you, as a supporter of and a believer in Israel, and I'm both of those things, if you think that your interests are best served by allying yourself with obvious recorded Islamophobes, with admirers of Donald Trump and Viktor Orban, if you think that the people best placed to speak for you in the West are the people who rub their hands with relish at the thought of Muslims being butchered in Gaza, then you really need to get your head around. Nothing more valuable in complicated situations than critical friends. And the attempt to silence them has been horrible to watch. 21 minutes after 10 is the time. And that's why today I won't be putting any of the tiny number of remaining weirdos who would ordinarily be put in idiots' corner with their claims that this is all perfectly normal behaviour, or Israel has done nothing wrong, or anybody criticising the killers of these soldiers is a supporter of Hamas, or that all of the deaths are on the perpetrators of the atrocity of October the 7th. Today you will be, I'm afraid, shouting into the void, because this is a conversation for grown-ups. And we will begin with Hully, who's in Derby. Hully, what would you like to say?
Hello.
Hello.
I'd like to say that, well, it's, you can't put it into words. Like,
you're going to have to try. That's the nature of radio.
It's just, like, we're watching people dying. We're watching innocent children, men, women dying. You look at the pictures, you compare pictures from what Palestine used to look like a couple of years ago to now. There's nothing there. They've bombed all the hospitals. There's no hospitals, there's no aid, there's no medicine, there's nothing. You people are dying and we're watching that. And our government are supporting it. which is great, which makes me so happy. It makes me so happy that Richard's being like, yeah, that's give these people weapons to kill people. It's great. I love it. I really love it. I love watching innocent children die. I love seeing it on every social media platform. I love seeing dead babies. I love it. I love seeing dead people.
I just need to I fully appreciate your emotion, but I do need to clarify for people who may have tuned in halfway through. You are speaking with profound sarcasm. In fact, I interviewed Bassem Youssef yesterday, who adopted a similar position on the television program not long ago, and kind of left everybody reeling with the power of his contribution. But you wonder how anybody can not feel how you feel, I think.
Yeah, we're watching, and I know a lot of people don't like this word, but we are essentially watching the genocide of the Palestinian people, and that's what we are watching.
Attention than they're getting, but you do understand why the killing of 3 British military veterans focuses British attention in a way that the previous deaths you described does not. You must understand.
I do understand it, and it's sad that more people are now paying attention to it, because obviously 3 British people died. They should have been paying attention to it months ago, and obviously it hits home more to people because of these political abortions, and it hits home a lot more. But it shouldn't hit home when innocent people are dying anyway.
And
it shouldn't hit home.
Why do you think it doesn't? Why do you think it doesn't?
Because I think it's because people who say, well, that's nothing to do with me. It's not affecting me, so I'm not going to pay attention to it. And that's how people deal with problems nowadays. If it's not affecting me, I'm not going to bother about it. But now it is. It's mine, they're from my country, they're from where I live, they are British, la la la. That's when people start to care. But because they are Muslim and they don't live in this country and they don't go by this country's Christian views and they don't look like this country, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. But because now there's people that do look like them and that are British and died, these people are like, oh no. Oh, this is atrocity, this is so bad, like, we need to do something about this. Well, where was you last week?
Well, that's a question only they can answer. Briefly, what do you want the British government to do now?
I want Rishi Sunak to stop sending arms. I know it's probably not going to make a huge difference, but it's going to make some sort of difference. America is probably sending 10 times, 20 times, 50 times more.
Sending a lot more to Israel than it is to Ukraine, which focuses the mindset.
Yes,
right. And then exit right.
We need to stop sending arms. We need to support the Palestinians. We need to show support to them. We need to get more aid to them. We need to help them because they have nothing. They have no army. They have no government. They have no money. They have nothing. They have nothing. They have no hospital. They have no aid. They have no medical. People are dying. Babies are dying. Children are dying.
Get ready to turn right.
Men and women are dying, and we're watching and we're contributing to that by not doing anything. I'm not saying go to Gaza. I'm not saying buy. I'm saying support your local country. Give money. £5, £2. I've got no money. I'm on benefit. I have a 3-year-old autistic child. Like, I've got no money, but I give what I can. I give what I can. I give £2 the other day.
Holly, thank you. You use the word genocide, which I do quite correctly have to pick up on. It's your opinion and you're perfectly entitled to it. But of course it is a threshold which neither you nor I control or police. Ultimately comes down to the Supreme Court of the United Nations in The Hague, and they are currently considering that allegation. It's suggested that at the first glance it is a plausible allegation. Many people, of course, are profoundly disturbed by the use of that language, which is their right as well, just as it is your right to use it. Just to pick up on one point about journalists, 95 16 more reported injured, 4 still missing, 25 journalists reported arrested, and that doesn't take into account multiple assaults, threats, cyber attacks, censorship, and even killings of family members. These figures come from the Committee to Protect Journalists, an international organisation which describes the number of journalists and media workers killed, injured or missing in the war as the deadliest period for journalists since the CPJ, since the Committee to Protect Journalists began gathering data in 1992. And yet it falls to me to remind you that the Israeli government tell us that everything has been surgically undertaken and that the prioritisation of civilian life has been unprecedented in the context of conflict, and that they have done more than any other army in history to ensure that innocent lives are not taken. And I think that a pinch of salt is probably necessary now, don't you? Whatever you thought yesterday. And speaking of what people thought yesterday, I am interested in how opinions shift and how ideas change, and quite a lot of you are telling me that is exactly what has happened to you. I'll find a couple of the more pertinent, sort of, best put expressions of that. So, like many of us, on October the 7th, the necessity of Israel's response, although it was unspecified, was plain. But most of us had an idea, emotionally, if not intellectually, of what too much response would look like, where the line between retaliation and revenge may lie, and we couldn't put it in numbers. For me, it was crossed weeks ago. For many, for much of Fleet Street, it would appear it was crossed yesterday. If it hasn't been crossed by you, I don't think it ever will be. And that means you're in that space that we started describing in November, where you're not prepared to say it out loud, but you are comfortable with a limitless number of deaths and casualties in Gaza, or at least you feel that they are justifiable and justified. Usually, of course, by blaming the victims. It's 10:30. Thomas Watts is here with your headlines.
World Central Kitchen has described its aid workers killed by an Israeli strike, including 3 British men, as heroes. The UK is facing calls to suspend arms sales to Israel following the deaths of John Chapman, James Henderson and James Kirby. The head of the National Education Union has told LBC that Ofsted has become a toxic brand. A poll of teachers suggests more than 80% want to see the school inspection system in England replaced. 9 people have died and more than 800 have been injured after an earthquake hit Taiwan. Thousands of homes are without power, with a number of people still trapped in buildings. LBC weather, most places cloudy and dry with some isolated showers. The rain heavier and sometimes thundery in northern and eastern areas. A high of 15 degrees.
This is LBC.
Every year, thousands of people lose money in investment scams.
I wanted to make my savings work for me, so I found an investment company online. My investment looked like it was doing well, so of course I gave them more money, but the problem started when I tried to withdraw it. I stole £30,000. When CEO called to say they'd recovered every penny, my wife and I just cried.
We help recover money from the financial system that's failed you. Visit celsolicitors.co.uk today.
At Big Motoring World, we love giving you thousands of cars to choose from. But we're bigger than that, because we're big on all the things that matter to you. Like a haggle and hassle-free low prices, because 90% of our cars are priced below market value. Brenton, we've got you covered with honest prices you can trust. See bigmotoringworld.co.uk. We're big on what matters to you.
When it comes to maximizing your savings, timing is everything. And now is the perfect time to take advantage of your full allowance with a non-company ISA. You could earn up to 10.06% tax-free interest gross per annum, compounded over a 2-year term. It's fee-free with loans secured against property. Visit cufflink.com, K-U-F-L-I-N-K. Your capital is at risk. Tax rules apply to IF ISAs and may be subject to change. Cufflink is authorised and regulated by the FCA.
James O'Brien on LBC. Listen on your smart speaker. Just say, play LBC.
10:33 is the time. And that didn't last very long, did it? I said I was going to close the gates of Idiot's Corner.
Get ready.
But John's been in touch, absolutely demanding that he gets given a golden season ticket for presidency in India's corner during this discussion about the killing of 3 British military veterans by an Israeli airstrike yesterday, an airstrike that took out a total of 7 aid workers, a tiny fraction of the overall numbers of the dead, but a tragedy that focuses the mind of British people in an unprecedented way. John's got in touch to say, how can you express concern for life when you have a dead animal on the plate? Thank you, John. 10:33 is the time. Back to the phones. Trevor is in Finchley. Trevor, what would you like to say?
Hi, James. I think with the incident yesterday, then
keep right, and then turn right.
The phone line's not very good. Let's give it 10 seconds. If it doesn't improve, we'll
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Turn
I don't
right.
know what you did, but don't do it again. No, sorry, pal. It's gone. We'll try and get you back. Okay. Saf is in Telford. Saf, what would you like to say? I don't think I live in an era where people are scared to call racism racism, Sam, to be honest with you, and here you are doing it. So where do you see the racism in this case?
Keep right, and then exit right.
It's because they're British. That's why.
Exit right.
The faces on the front of the newspapers are...
I'm talking about the Australian as well.
We're talking about 3 British soldiers who were dead, and if they had been black British soldiers, I think the story would be more or less the same. So it's not actually racism. It's a different form of prioritisation or prejudice, but it's not racism. Most people who haven't seen it. Hang on. Most people who haven't seen a newspaper today probably don't know the ethnicity of the 3 dead British people. James Henderson, John Chapman, and James Kirk. No, because they're not British.
Maybe not racist.
No, it's not. Listen, I'm very not at all shy of calling racism when I see it, but that's not quite what we're describing. We're simply describing the way in which, if a story is in the news about Telford, your ears will prick up in a way that they won't prick up if there's a story in the news about Tel Aviv or Dundee. And we as British people are more interested in the killing of British people than we are in the killing of anybody else. And guess what? Palestinian people are more interested in the killing of Palestinian people than they are in the killing of people from Shropshire. So it's not racism, is it?
The situation in Ukraine, and how the international community acted towards Ukrainian refugee and the UK as Ukrainian refugee.
Yeah, I agree with you there. There's definitely an element of racism in the different attitudes towards white refugees and brown refugees, but that's not what we're talking about today. I'm not beating you up, Sam. I just think that this is such a sensitive issue that we've got to be absolutely clear on our syntax and our semantics. What do you want the British government to do in response, and this helps you understand my point, I think, in response to the killing of these British citizens?
I wanted to put international pressure on the war to introduce an immediate ceasefire to stop the arms to Israel, and for the leader of Israel to agree to a 2-state solution, which would eliminate deaths for the game.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why Benjamin Netanyahu's regime has been historically quite sympathetic towards Qatar's Hamas has been because Hamas pose a threat to the Palestinian Authority and share Benjamin Netanyahu's disdain for the idea of a 2-state solution. But again, that doesn't get written about very often and talked about very often in the British media. I think just to support your original point a little, Sanders points out that if it is an American, an Australian or Canadian, then our ears will also prick up. Just nudging towards that racism. But I stand by what I said. If these 3 men killed in Israel yesterday had been mixed race or black or Asian roots, then I think that the reaction of the establishment would be the same. The reaction of some punters who claim to get cross about flags having their colours changed slightly while turning up at UKIP conventions with a purple Union flag, then I can't speak for. But front pages of newspapers and political engagement, I think I can. 10:38 is the time. Saf, take care. Trevor's in Finchley on a better line. Where were we, Trevor?
I just want to quick, James.
I think you have to look at the history of
Just answer the question if you would.
Sorry, what was that?
Just answer. Well, you must know what the question is because you were just about to dismiss it.
Yeah, I said
Okay, so Benjamin Netanyahu and many members of his cabinet are on the record as a two-state solution now. Does that somehow justify calls for relocation as well?
It's the two things going on together. The fact that they want
Yes, they do. You told me that the justification for the elimination of Hamas, regardless of what the collateral damage to innocent civilians might be, was built upon their refusal to accept the two-state solution. So
completely absurd.
So that's what you said. So I'm wondering whether Benjamin Netanyahu I'm repeating your own words back to you.
The war is not because they want a one-state solution.
No, but the need to eliminate Hamas is because they reject a two-state solution. You just told me that.
They've launched a genocidal war in Israel. That is the reason there is a war, not because they have a view that they have a one-state.
And you just justified the elimination of everybody in Gaza in pursuit of Hamas.
How do you then convey the idea of wanting to demilitarize Hamas and remove their military element?
Because you're here to justify the killing of civilians.
Who's justifying the killing of civilians?
And then go straight.
Because you said that you want what's happening now to continue, and tens of thousands of civilians are already dead. Ergo, to call for what is happening now to continue, you're calling for the continuing killing of innocent civilians.
No,
this isn't complicated, Trevor.
They are. How many people be killed in Gaza?
We know that.
So we know that the United Nations number of civilians killed for combatants generally is recorded as 91. That's the UN figure. The number of civilians people have been killed in total is about 32,000. If you accept Israel's figure of say 32,000 combatants,
why would I accept those figures?
Well below.
Why would I accept those figures? Why would I accept those figures?
Well, you'd rather accept Hamas's figures rather than United Nations figures.
You're talking about Israel's figures.
Figures that are more credible than United Nations.
I think that Human Rights Watch has detailed the measures that the Palestinian Health Authority takes to record casualties and deaths with reference to mortuaries and hospitals, and explained that by publishing biographical details and names, they have a more reliable record than many other comparable conflict zones. Whereas you think you should trust what the Israeli Defense Force tells us while refusing to allow foreign journalists into that territory. Just talk me through that.
Well, I'd accept the United Nations. Well, the fact that all these figures are going to have to be verified sometime later.
So why are you telling me to trust one and not? Why are you telling me to trust one and not another?
Because the United Nations, well, the 32,000 figure comes from Hamas.
It comes from the Palestinian Health Authority, which the Human Rights Watch have provided objective analysis of. Who provides objective analysis of what the Israeli Defense Force told you?
Or Hamas. So it's going to
you can't keep doing this. I told you what Human Rights Watch said about the measures that the Palestinian Health Authority deployed to list their death toll. Who provides objective external scrutiny of the numbers that the Israeli Defense Force provide? You're going to have to answer the question at some point. Who provides objective international scrutiny of the numbers that you have come on the show to tell me I should trust? I'm going to ask you again until you answer the question, because we both know the answer. We both know the answer. Who provides the answer?
No, we don't, Judge.
No, well, I'll tell you then. Nobody.
No, you have, well, either to accept or not accept that Israel's figures are as close as verifiable as possible. Either you can denounce them because it's Israel.
But I've just told you that Human Rights Watch are the body to whom I turn for guidance on this matter. Who's the body to whom you turn for guidance on it?
Aduh, halo bro. Sorry AFK dulu ya.
Open with £1, 4.17% tax-free variable interest paid monthly. Rate available if you make 3 or less withdrawals.
Hey, Harry.
Hello, mate.
Got a nap lined up for today.
Listen, pal, I may not be like the young stallion I once was, but I'm still fit as a fiddle, I'll have you know.
No, Harry, that's not what I meant.
I'm not even that old. I do boxercise 3 times a week, and my trainer says...
No, I meant the horses. Your nap, your Napoleon, your best bet.
Oh, well, you should have said that. My best bet would be to head over to Bet Victor and check out the latest offers they have on the horses.
Listen to Harry. Make your best bet on the racing at Bet Victor. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
My granny visits Specsavers. No chance.
No, my daughter doesn't go to Specsavers.
You're having a laugh. My sister goes to Specsavers.
Specsavers? For my mum is out of the question. What? He hasn't been to Spacey for some years.
If your loved ones can't make it into a Specsavers store, it's easy to arrange home visits. Our opticians are caring and highly trained. To find out if your loved ones are eligible, visit our website.
What to do when you've got no plans? Well, in just a short train ride, you can open the door to a mind-giving, musical, and inspiring gallery, or an underground cocktail bar behind a secret door. Sorry, wrong door. From unique nightlife to world-class galleries, jump on a Thameslink train and open the door to more this spring. Book tickets and pay no booking fees at thameslinkrailway.com, where every stop is a story.
Exit right.
Our generation's risk of illnesses, like measles and whooping cough, is rising. If we're not vaccinated, we're not protected and could get seriously ill, risking lifelong disabilities. Are your child's vaccines up to date? Book at their GP practice.
James O'Brien on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
It is 17 minutes after 11 and you are listening to James O'Brien on LBC, where I wonder whether this needs to be added to the mix as well. Do you know who Alicia Kearns is? Relatively moderate Conservative MP, by which these days you just mean not absolutely crazy. You know, if Brendan Clark Watson is a 30p league and become deputy chairman of the party, then goodness knows what the standard is for sanity within the ranks of the parliamentary Conservative Party. But Alicia Kearns is chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. It's quite a big job. And while we were all celebrating Easter, she revealed that it was I think a clandestine recording of the Tory party fundraiser. She said that the UK government has been given legal advice by its own laws that Israel has broken humanitarian, but had essentially chosen not to
and then turn
announce it. The specific law, I think, is the one that insists countries must deny the exports of arms. This will be the law regarding the passage of aid into Gaza, probably. But there are various other areas in which the allegation may stand. South Africa, of course, having its case heard at the International Court of Justice, having accused Israel of genocide. But Alicia Kearns, I mean, these are words I can't say. The chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, not some sort of fringe weirdo, but the chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee has claimed government lawyers have told the UK that Israel is not complying with its international commitments, but has not disclosed this and continues arms exports. This follows the release. Famine is now setting in Gaza, so the importance of aid is greater than it has ever been. And one of the responses to the killing of the aid workers by the IDF yesterday is the withdrawal of agencies from the provision of aid because they don't feel safe. What does that tell us? That tells us that the people on the ground in Gaza don't believe Israel when they talk about intelligence failures or unavoidable consequences, that tells us that they don't think that this is a freakish aberration. I think it does. Perhaps I'm reading too much into it. But these aid agencies know that risk is a routine part of their existence. For them to reach the point where they think that risk is untenable, that risk is too high, surely suggests to any fair and honest observer that this particular attack on this particular convoy, to them, speaks of much more than incompetence or intelligence failure. You tell me. I'm not an aid worker in Gaza who risks their life already, but considers that this event has rendered that risk unbearably, untenably high. 20 minutes after 11 is the time. And I'm trying to think of other contexts in which Sophie is in Ealing. Sophie, what would you like to say?
Oh, morning, James. It's a real pleasure to speak to you. I know we're not allowed to be emotional, but you're my hero. Look, I mean, there's so much we can say about this topic, but I'm just going to just think about the killing of the 3 servicemen. I think what that's done is that it's really... The British government has been allowed to kind of look away and make excuses for Israel for a long time, just because I think it's aligned to the US. The US has a certain position, and but now that 3 British aid workers and servicemen have been killed, they can't. They're forced to now address the issue, because I think before this happened, 70% of the British public, from my understanding of sort of media information, were in favour of a ceasefire. And I think if the British government didn't take the roundabout, and be really quite firm about it.
It's Wednesday. Will they be hoping that it's dropped off the news agenda by Monday, and that Netanyahu continues doing what he's doing now, and we continue to watch elements of the world object and other elements wave it through, and Joe Biden continues to send fighter jets, and we continue to send ordnance. I don't know.
This is the horror of it all. It's the idea that you can, the US sat in the UN Security Council and abstained from the ceasefire for the first time, but then the next day they left Israel. Now, what does that tell you? Now, words are cheap, but actions speak much louder than words. And so we have a situation here where, and especially in light of the leak from the obviously occurred.
Yes. Were you aware of it?
Yeah, I heard about. I read about it.
It's mad how the day in which something comes to light can have such an impact upon the amount of coverage that it gets. It's crazy, really, in a 24/7 universe.
This was leaked, I think, a few days ago, but it now has much more force because of the situation where we're now with the 3 servicemen. But my theory is that the British government now is, now that this has leaked, I think it's going to have to take very seriously. It's going to have to really consider the legal advice because I do remember that. I don't know if you remember that the select committee where Lord Carroll was being questioned by Lizzie Kerr, and she asked him if he'd had legal advice, and he denied it. I don't know if you remember that. That was a while back.
I don't remember that, but I do think I've seen some footage of the Prime Minister, I forgot his name for a minute, of Rishi Sunak being asked about it. I'll see if I can dig that out. And that's since Innissi Kenz's claims at the weekend were made public. So what's the point of having government lawyers if they are not?
Exactly. This is about the fact that this has gone to the ICJ. The ICJ has been investigating the matter. It said that there's plausibility of genocide. And we have the British government who historically have a connection to this story. We're not going to go into that. But and now does the British government really want to be complicit with the killing of aid workers, of children? I don't know if and this has shocked the British government, but the British public have been shocked by incubators with babies that are, that are dying. So I think that's one aspect. But cynically, your earlier caller said, is it a deliberate invasion? I really do think it is, and it's shocking. And I think the impunity that the Israeli government has, I think they know that no matter what, because they've got the backing of the US and the British government, even if they do the worst things, really, what is the world going to do? Nothing. And they know that. So if they push the aid workers out, which is their tactic, because don't forget that the shooting of the aid truck, that's still being investigated.
Propaganda suggesting that there is no famine in Gaza. Footage filmed elsewhere for different times in history of kebabs and restaurants. I think we had a little flavour earlier on the programme of the mindset that's desperate to believe that stuff while ignoring the fact that proper journalists aren't allowed in. So it's out there. The permission to deny that famine exists is out there, and it's being sold by the Israeli government.
And the UN order to increase aid last week. UNRWA has been banned. They're banning Al Jazeera journalists. Don't forget, the Israeli government, if they're going after Hamas, why are they killing journalists? Why are they, going after hospitals? Why are they killing doctors in the chest when they're working? There's so much that is going on. It's to really, it is to destroy the whole infrastructure of that place. It's to lose all hope, no aid. Who's going to go and help in Gaza when they're going to get killed? Don't forget, you need 3 cars.
There are people in the cabinet who would already be calling for Gaza to be settled then by Israelis. I wish some of this wasn't true, because it sounds almost incredible. It sounds almost too much to be plausible. But these people exist, and they increasingly, as time has passed, have said things out loud that would once have sounded a bit fanciful or speculative, and Sophie's exactly right. And of course, if you're uncomfortable with anything that she said about doctors being shot, or about babies in incubators, or about famine, or about any version of events that you don't like as a supporter of Benjamin Netanyahu, or just as a good person who doesn't want to believe the worst, then you have to wonder why they won't let Matt Fry into Gaza, or Kat Urani, Lise Doucette, or John Simpson. Why? You have to ask yourself, and you have to answer it as well. That's a bit harder. It always is. 27 minutes after 11 is the time. Just to clarify one thing that Sophie said, the International Court of Justice made a legally binding order last week. This is what she was referring to. She knew what she was talking about, just in case you didn't. And this was as a consequence of famine setting in. It's all part of the case brought by South Africa, accusing Israel of genocide. It's sort of stretch. Sparks in Belfast. Mark, what would you like to say?
Hi, good morning, James. James, it's actually quite infuriating that my taxes, along with the rest of the British taxpayers' monies, are being used to send weapon systems to slaughter innocent people, is how I see it. Sunak needs to get a backbone, get off Joe Biden's back, don't follow the US, they love nothing more than a war. Cut Benjamin Netanyahu completely off and issue a warrant for his arrest. The genocide of war crimes that man is committing is absolutely abhorrent, and how anyone can defend him and his position is beyond comprehensible, to be quite honest.
When did it become beyond comprehensible? Because on October the 8th, was it, or October the 9th, or arguably November the 9th? So when did it become? I know this is a crass question. I'm addicted to this question. I don't know why. I guess sometimes I'm guilty as anyone of looking for simple answers to complicated questions. But when did it become untenable? When did it become inconceivable?
In my opinion, James, it was untenable from day one.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yes, it was horrible what was inflicted on the people of Israel by Hamas. But at the end of the day, 2 wrongs don't make a right. To go in all guns blazing and to level an entire land, killing innocent people, is not the answer. It's a real
civilian casualty, we'd have been comfortable with any number of proven Hamas, or even genuinely suspected. Excuse me, Hamas operatives being killed. I would have been. I'd go after the people responsible for the October the 7th atrocity. But your position would be, it became clear very, very quickly that they were simultaneously telling us they were being really, really careful and taking no care whatsoever.
The fact that they're not allowing any outside media into the country to report tells us everything. Well, should tell us everything.
They're honest, objective media. I think I think there might be a couple of shills that have been allowed.
I don't think what he's doing, my personal opinion, I don't think there's any difference between what he and Vladimir Putin are doing and what the UK and the US and other nations around the world see one as acceptable and one as unacceptable. There's no difference.
Well, again, you are entirely free to say that. I don't need today to agree or disagree with it, but some of the parallels are acute, some of them less so, I suppose. I like this. As a member of the Jeremy Bowen fan club, I just listed off the top of my head some of my favourite foreign correspondents. Someone's texted to say, please don't forget Jeremy Bowen. You're absolutely right. Absolutely. But Jeremy Bowen very much in the middle of that list, and also a much younger contributor to this discourse, Secunda Kamani, who advises trade over at Channel 4 News, doing amazing work. And speaking of people doing amazing work, have a listen if you get the chance to Krishna Guru Murthy's conversation with the latest Israeli spokesman on Channel 4 News last night. It was remarkable. And if you wonder why I say the latest Israeli spokesman, I'll tell you, I don't know if you remember a guy called Adon Levy, who was popping up all over the place not long ago, including here, not this program. And there was some confusion about who he was and how he ended up being an Israeli spokesman. The Times of Israel, he's been suspended and I think is no longer a spokesman after essentially accusing the British Foreign Secretary of lying about the passage of aid into Gaza. The Times of Israel, and I'll retweet this article, has done an extraordinary investigation into how somebody can pop up on every television station, radio station in the country with no background or particular. It's an interview with him, so it's not even speculative. But sometimes I find myself listening to programs all over the region and thinking, who is this chap? Where did they find him? Where did he go? And this answers that question quite spectacularly. There is no particular qualification process. All you've got to be able to do is publicly defend absolutely everything the Israeli government does, regardless of context, evidence, and disputable facts, I suppose. So it's by a journalist called David Horowitz in the Times of Israel, under the headline, "The Stunning Rise, Curious Suspension and Insistent Return of Israel's Star Spokesman." An extraordinary piece, which I'll share with you imminently, while you enjoy the very latest news headlines with Thomas Wills.
The former National Security Advisor Lord Rickett has suggested the UK should halt arms sales to Israel. It follows the killing of 7 aid workers, including 3 British veterans, in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. Royal Mail has warned up to 1,000 jobs could be cut under plans to reduce deliveries. It wants permission to scrap second-class deliveries on Saturdays and cut the service to every other weekday. Officials in Taiwan say the number of people killed in an earthquake has risen to 9. It damaged dozens of buildings and prompted tsunami warnings that extended to Japan and the Philippines. LBC weather, most places cloudy and dry with some isolated showers. The rain heavier and sometimes thundery in eastern and northern areas. A high of 15 degrees.
LBC. At EDF, we're busy helping Britain achieve net zero. As CEO of EDF Renewables UK and Ireland, Mathieu Hu explains.
We've been investing in clean energy in Britain for over 15 years, and now we have ambition to generate 10 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2035. Homegrown renewables will be essential in securing the country's energy independence, and we are committed to working closely with local communities where our projects are based to create a strong green economy.
EDF, helping Britain achieve net zero.
Not shopped at Ocado, but you've heard it's the best. Now you can shop for 25% less. And groceries delivered free to your address. There's an Ocado just for you.
First-time customer, get 25% off your grocery shop and free delivery.
There's an Ocado just for you.
New customers only. Minimum spend £60, max saving £20. Geographical restrictions apply. Conditions at ocado.com. Verify at info@ocadoretail.com.
Investing with AJ Bell feels so good, you'll just want to ring that bell anywhere, anytime. In the office, in the pub, on the bus, on a ship, on a train, in the rain, in the gym, in a library, at a wedding, at a librarian's wedding. You can even ring it in space.
Underwater.
In a sawmill! Or just a good old-fashioned cowbell. Yes, that's the sweet sound of investing with AJ Bell. AJ Bell, feel good investing. Value of investments can go down, so it's up.
Experience the world's longest running play. Agatha Christie's masterpiece,
And then
The Mousetrap. It's the whodunit that defined a genre, where everyone has something to hide and everyone's a suspect. The only question is, have you done it? Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap, the West End classic that will have you on the edge of your seat. Don't just see it, solve it.
This is LBC. Message James O'Brien on WhatsApp now on 0345 6060 973.
And the time is 24 minutes to 12. I'm inundated with calls today, understandably. Feelings running very high. But I do want to nudge things, if I may, towards the question of support. The question of where your pendulum has gone on this. The horrors of October the 7th, so blatantly vile, that I think many of us felt, if you like, an emotional commitment to the idea that Israel has got to do something, and it's got to do something big, and it's got to do something fast. And I make no apology for that response. But its dissipation or dilution is fascinating. It seems to me to be feasible that people could have undergone a 180-degree conversion now. You could have gone from, well, of course Israel must do something, to how the hell can Israel still be doing this? Israel must do something, to Israel must stop. And I'd love to talk to you if you're in that category. And I'm going to trust you to be honest with me. Okay, so, I get some messages. Here's one from Bob. I'm not questioning your sincerity, Bob. I'll read them out. My sympathy for Israel was lost in October when water and power was cut off straight away. These are war crimes already. Then medical aid, amputations without anaesthetic, and the mass bombing of buildings. They have lost any moral high ground a long time ago. I just would question politely and kindly how much sympathy you had for Israel in the first place. But maybe I'm being unfair. But you see what I mean. Luckily, I get recorded. You know exactly what I said in the immediate aftermath of the October the 7th attacks, and I think understandably I came in for some criticism for being quite full-throated in my belief that Israel not only had the right to respond robustly, but needed to respond robustly. I stand by that.
Go straight.
But I started asking the question of how much is too much almost the next day. I think most people have now answered that question, or rather, most people have now seen with their own eyes, or read with their own eyes, or heard with their own ears the answers to that question. So, how do you process this as somebody who feels the visceral relevance of the modern state of Israel, who feels the links to the Holocaust, who has always, or perhaps, as in my case, who needed some help, fully to understand the importance, the unique status of the modern state of Israel in the context of sanctuary and safety and generational trauma. It may be too early to ask the question of you as to what Netanyahu has done to you. When we had Noga Tarapolsky on yesterday, the Israeli-based journalist, I shared with her a phrase that someone else had shared with me off air, and called someone who is very, very committed to the modern state of Israel, and just said to me, and it was the phrase that I remembered was 60 years of goodwill. He said, Netanyahu has squandered 60 years of goodwill. And I repeated that phrase to her, expecting some pushback yesterday, and she agreed. I don't think that the business of processing that fact has probably started in earnest yet for many people. The squandering of goodwill, the sacrifice, if you like, of goodwill, the support that Israel, whether you like it or not,
quite like it.
Get ready
Enjoyed
to turn left.
in much of the world. Because it's the necessity of its existence and its survival is different from that of other sovereign states. I believe that. I can't justify it intellectually. I can justify intellectually most of the things I say on this program. For me, this is emotional. Emotional and historical. The unique status of the modern state of Israel as a space of sanctuary for a people who have endured millennia of persecution. Culminating in the Holocaust, but peppered with pogroms, murders, myriad other modes of persecution. Not quite uniquely, I think that the Roma merit similar treatment, but the numbers, of course, are much smaller. And I still subscribe to that. But how on earth you sustain unquestioning support now for what this man and his acolytes have done is, I'm afraid, beyond me. It is beyond me. 41 minutes after 11 is the time. There's two articles I keep meaning to tweet. The one about the guy that was everywhere 10 minutes ago was an official government spokesman. I've just retweeted that one. And I should put out that Haaretz article as well about the kill zones in Gaza and reasons to be profoundly sceptical of the claims by the Israeli army that 9,000 terrorists have been killed since the war began. Increasing evidence, well, testimony from defence officials and soldiers that these are often civilians whose only crime is essentially to be their responsibility. Abby's in Kensington. Abby, what would you like to say?
Hey, good morning, James.
Hello.
First-time caller. I've been listening to your show since I moved to London.
Thank you.
So, I'm just trying to understand. So, Israel, UK, and other Western partners have a solid partnership. Now, my question is, what do you get out of that partnership? What is, for example, in this case, the UK, what do we get out of that partnership, that allyship, that friendship? Because I thought when we're in a partnership, whether that's business or, personal, there's checks and balances. There's certain things that you cannot do, right? Like cheating, lying, deceiving, killing. At what point does the Western powers or Israel's partners say, look, man, this is enough is enough. Like, you've done enough damage. When does it stop?
I think that your question is very, very powerful. I don't know whether it's rhetorical or not, but the answer is being lived. There is no answer to this question on a statute book or on paper or in a convention. There is no answer to this question because Netanyahu is testing the limits of what you described in a way that they have never been tested before.
Get ready to turn left.
And these three victims, British citizens, are not the first aid workers that have been deliberately targeted or killed. I mean, I think the number is something around 196 aid workers that have been killed by Israel. I don't know if you remember a few years ago.
I don't know that they were all incidents of deliberate targeting, but the number, I think, no, but we will know that some of them definitely were.
Yeah. Look, what I'm saying is, do you remember a few years back there was a young American woman who was bulldozered by the IDF?
Yes, of course.
Has anything come out of that? Has anyone been punished? Nope. The answer is no. So,
well, to my shame, I can't nod along with that. I don't know for sure that is true, but I'll tell you.
I know
for it.
I can tell you for a fact no one has been prosecuted. Nothing has happened or come out of that. It was just she happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, which is extremely sad. But the point I'm making is whether these three victims, I'm sure we'll find out about more victims, and the frustrating part is nothing is going to change. Not that these three British victims are worthy or have more value than the 20 or 30-some thousand folks, civilians who've been killed, whether you want to dispute the numbers or not, nothing is going to change. My point is nothing is going to change until you put your foot down and you tell your partner, you hold them accountable, and you say, look, enough is enough. This is what's going to happen from now on. If Russia has done that, if any other government has done that, you would see immediate actions. And let me say one more thing.
I think in most other circumstances, we'd probably already be militarily engaged. You know, so the parallel doesn't quite work. But you're talking about if an enemy was responsible for the killing of British aid workers, then the response would be very different from that when an ally is responsible for the killing of which is in a sense, Abby, a statement of the bleeding obvious, isn't it? But I understand the nuance of the point that you're making.
Yeah, and it almost feels like, now, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it almost sounds like, I mean, we both know Israel has carte blanche. They can do whatever they want, especially with Joe Biden.
I don't like glossing over that. I mean, it is increasingly difficult to push back against that claim. I mean, to the point perhaps of impossibility, especially when you hear from people in the Israeli government or even their supporters in the UK media who don't seem to think there is any point at which their mission becomes unsustainable or unsupportable. Whatever happens, they will support, usually by pointing out the necessity of eradicating Hamas or freeing the hostages that they haven't shot themselves yet or that are still alive. So it's not quite as glibly acceptable as you describe it. There are some grounds put up for justifying the continued conflict.
I dispute that.
Yeah, I know you do. But I'm putting up the thing to be disputed.
I think what you're doing, James, is with all due respect, I think you're playing safe. I think you're being...
No, I'm not playing safe. I think we've gone beyond the point where Israel's impunity is arguable. I'm just reminding you that people still argue. And the argument is we need to eradicate Hamas and we need to I think that became spurious months ago, let alone completely ridiculous. So I'm not playing safe. I'm just putting forward points that perhaps people will be a bit shy of ringing in to make themselves, and reminding you that those points are in the discourse.
Yeah, it's just absurd. It's really sad and scary. And the thing is, Palestinians, because you have...
Oke, kalau begitu kita sudahi dulu live streaming hari ini karena sudah mendekati azan maghrib alias buka puasa. Ya, kalau begitu terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dadah.